What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes. Quick little impromptu fish room update. I have been moving and shaking down here in the fish room. Things have been happening. Boxes have been opened. Deliveries have been made. Tanks have been moved. Fish have been added. Fish have been spawning. Fry have been born. Tanks have been cleaned. Tanks have been moved and not filled. Tanks that have been sitting around forever are still unfilled. Tanks that have been sitting around forever have been moved and are still unfilled. Got a home for the new tank. Got a new tripod. Got my old camera back. Some things haven't changed. Some things I'm still too lazy to fix. Let's see, is there a moral to the story? No. Maybe there's a moral to the story. The moral to the story could be that I was not paying enough attention to filming all of this activity. I take that back. I was filming all of the activity. I'm not completely pleased with how the footage came out. I haven't yet reviewed it all. I've been playing with different cameras. I tried using 2 or 3 cameras at once. But let's see if we can recap. Maybe I'll have other videos out sort of proving all of this already, showing all this already. But I got a delivery from Coral Bandit, who is a ram breeder from upstate New York. He was supposed to send me some fish before New Year's, and there was a snafu on his part and he just couldn't get the delivery done. I was looking to buy from him 1 proven pair of German blue rams, along with 4 females for a total of 6 altogether. And Coral Bandit, great guy. If you can find him on Aquabit or any other sites, definitely recommend conducting business with him. Fantastic fish, fantastic guy. Because he messed up and didn't send me the fish before New Year's, he threw in 2 extra fish. I had emailed him some slight displeasure and said, look man, I appreciate the extra fish and all, but we talked about getting a bunch of females, and I see at least a few males. Not that big of a deal. Within 36 hours of receiving these fish, I had a pair form, probably was the proven pair from him, and spawn in that flower pot. Probably can't see it, but that's the male guarding some newborn fry right now. Those were just born today. 12 to 24 hours afterwards, a second pair formed and spawned over there on the slate. The fish are still hovering around the slate as if they're protecting a breeding site. However, I don't see any eggs. But I said the same thing yesterday, and then a short while later realized that the eggs just blended in with the slate. But the fish that Coral Bandit sent me are fantastic. These are some really good looking rams. When I first got them, obviously they were stressed out from shipping and their colors were not so great. 12 hours later, they were beautiful. 12 hours after that, a pair was already spawning. There's definitely some activity in the tank, some aggression and some fighting, as might be expected from cichlids. And I don't want to move them up out and around yet anywhere, because, you know, they theoretically need to go through a quarantine procedure. I just placed a big order today from a couple of different sources for some medicines and stuff like that. I don't see anything visibly wrong with these fish, but I do like to treat for any internal parasite and any kind of bacterial issue these fish might have. So, this is the tank that used to house 2 German blue rams that I initially thought were a male and female, and then as time went on, nothing was happening, so I thought they were 2 males, and there was another male in a 10-gallon tank that was over there. That 10-gallon tank has since moved up here, and we'll talk about the new inhabitants in that. But the 2 rams that were behind me, along with the 1 ram that was in that tank by itself, are now all 3 in this tank together. Which, by the way, I rescaped this tank. This was the 20-gallon tank that used to have a single apistogramma cockatoides triple red. We'll talk about that in a minute and show where that fish went. This tank as well got a rescape. This used to be bare bottom when I had a couple of the German blue rams in here. So I threw in some Indian almond leaves, I threw in a little bit of pool filter sand because I had it, and I threw in some driftwood because I had it. I've had driftwood soaking in tubs in my fish room forever and ever and ever, and it, I don't know, it just sort of clicked with me that what the hell are you saving that stuff for? You might as well use it. Speaking of which, I'm also placing another order for a big batch of driftwood. But, so, I got these 3 rams into this tank together. These are 3 rams that I've had for quite a long time. Like I said, I knew I had at least 2 males, and for a little while I thought the 3rd one was a female, but I had given up hope on that. However, since putting the 3 into this tank together, the one that I used to think was female, I again now think is female, and it seems that she's pairing off with one of the other 2 males. I think the 2 fish that I left in this tank before just weren't compatible, and the 1 male I had alone should have been in that tank with the female, because now I got 2 that look like they are pairing off and getting ready to spawn. And that one fish that I went back and forth on whether or not she was a female, over the past week since she's been in this tank, not even a week, I more and more think that she is a female now. Besides all that, I moved my little girl's 10-gallon glowfish tank and realized there was a crack in the side of the tank, and that crack must have been there for quite a long time, because I used to think that the evaporation level out of this tank was higher than all the others, and this corner of the tank was all sorts of stained, and you might be able to see right there, there's a crack in the tank. It is leaking. Obviously, it's not completely draining or anything, and I'm going to go take advantage of the $1 per gallon sale before it ends and grab another 10-gallon tank. The 10-gallon tank, they used to have all the neon tetras. I don't know what the hell I did wrong, but I killed every single neon tetra as well as the Pristilla tetra. That black skirt tetra is still doing alright, as are all the cherry shrimp. So I think I just wasn't paying attention. I was lazy when I moved these tanks recently, and I did not empty them and break them down completely. What I did was I drained the water down as low as I could go. The fish were still in the water but flopping around. Moved the whole tank, filled it back up, and I think I wasn't paying to the temperature. I think I filled it up way too hot and just shocked all the fish. So this 10-gallon tank, which used to house the single German blue ram when it was over there on that rack, now houses 3 new apistogramma. These are apistogramma hongsloi. This is a trio, 2 females and a male. I thought I noticed a bit of breeding activity, a little bit of dancing and shimmying and shaking, but nothing's happening yet. There's the male back there playing a little camera shy. There's one of the females, and like most apistogramma, the female are not too visually striking. The male is really the beautiful fish, and I just can't get to him. So besides all that, let's see, I also added in this nice new shelf over here, so now I got a place to put some of my rags. So I usually tuck a rag into my belt or into my pocket when I'm working down here so I can dry off my hands, because things get wet in the fish room. And that used to stay down there where I now have fish tanks. So my lack of planning bites yet again. You know, I moved some of those tanks and realized, oh crap, I got nowhere to keep my stuff. But this works out well. This nice wire shelf allows me to put buckets up here, which can drain down into my slop sink, and I can store things like towels. I also got this rack here that hangs on the side of my utility tub. It's not meant to sit this way, but it does work very well this way to hold some more cups and things like that. Just things that I'm working with when I'm next to the utility sink. So then that moves us over to this way. So down here is where I had the 20 high with that single apistogramma, which now has the 3 German blue rams. I was able to move the 38-gallon discus tank to that bottom shelf. That tank used to be over here, and now I've got the 40 breeder. I'm probably going to break down this 30-gallon tank. I need to add at least one more 2x4 this way, and then I can fit a 40 breeder up top here. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to forsake that 30-gallon, add another 40 breeder over there. And eventually I'm going to break down this rack because I can fit a 55-gallon instead of this 38-gallon down here. And this is slowly but surely the beginning of my fish room renovations. Things are changing, things are moving. I got a mess of airline tubing because now that I've moved tanks over here, now I need to expand the air system. I was out of valves. I placed an order with Gemco the other day, so I'm going to have to cut the PVC, extend it out in the room a little bit, finish off the loop, drill some more drop lines, put in the valves, and that way I've got air everywhere I need it. Let's think, what else has moved? What else has changed? I guess that's it for as far as what's moved and what's changed. That's a lie. The apistogramma cockatoides triple red, which I am not 100% sure that it is a cockatoides nor a triple red. This was one of a few fry I had been growing out for quite some time. I only got one left, unfortunately. Man, the more and more I look at this fish, it is not a cockatoides. It just isn't. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I got this from a pretty reputable individual in the fish community, and I'm very surprised that it is not what he purported it to be. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So he is now in this 10-gallon tank all by himself. There's probably a couple of cherry shrimp in there as well, and we'll see what happens with him. I don't think he's a trifasciata. I got the apistogramma trifasciata up here. He doesn't look exactly like that either. I don't know. I don't know apistogramma species well enough. Could be I honestly don't know. I'd be guessing if I said any other apistogramma species names. Let's think. I guess that's it for what's moved and what's new. Otherwise, everything's pretty much status quo. Waiting on that new driftwood and just sort of planning out more things in my head as I go. I finished up that new electric. That was the last box in the room, so now I got power coming out of that box and all the way over to the other side of the room, which that's all part of that footage that I shot the other day, which I may or may not actually get posted. It's pitch black over here. I don't have any lights on except for fish tank lights. That's another thing I was thinking about doing, was redoing the lighting in the room, maybe using all LEDs instead of these 4-foot fluorescent tubes and things like that. Very indecisive when it comes to this stuff, and I have such a small area to work in that it really changes things. I've had people offer to come help me. Mike from New Jersey, from Michael's Fish Room, go check out his channel. Mike has often graciously offered to come and give me a hand, trying to set something up so he and I can at least get together. But there's just not enough room down here for two people to work side by side. My little girl comes down here and tries to help. There's not even enough room for her and I to be down here at the same time. You just can't walk past each other because it's such small alleyways. One of these days I got to do the math again. I think I figured out the square footage down here was once less than 200 square feet. I believe the cubic footage, including the height of the room, was less than 1,000 cubic feet or something crazy like that. So I'm definitely working on maximizing this space to the best of my ability and cramming some more stuff in here. But to do that, I end up thinking and thinking and thinking for weeks and months on end, and then once I start actually implementing something, things end up changing on the fly all the time, either because my thoughts were wildly inappropriate and I'd be unable to accomplish what I want. Not inappropriate in the sense that it's not safe for the kiddos, but inappropriate in the sense that I shouldn't take 4 spoonfuls of dinner when I can only eat 1. I am thinking about rearranging these racks and everything over here, but in my head I was thinking about putting a 55 and a 55 and then maybe another row of 10 gallons or 20 gallons on top of it. That's crazy. There's no freaking way I'm going to be able to fit a 3rd row of anything on top of that over here. Not unless I had tank on top of tank with no light in between and no hope of ever reaching in to actually do any work. So I'm not ruling it out completely. You know, there's a chance of doing a lot of intricate math and figuring it out that maybe I can get something like one of these 12-gallon long tanks, which are only about, I think, 8 inches tall top to bottom. Where's my tape measure? Just shy of 10 inches tall top to bottom. So there's a chance that a short tank like that I might be able to fit above racks of tanks over here, but we'll see. It's that 17-gallon Mr. Aqua rimless that I've got up here on top of the 10-gallon rack. That used to be the 10-gallon Neon Tetra tank. I've not even filled this tank since I bought it. Hopefully it doesn't leak. We'll figure out what's going in there. I did just notice that there is a slight little chunk / chip out of the corner there. I don't think it's going to affect the integrity of the tank, but it doesn't make me happy, that's for sure. And that's about it, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. Thumbs down if you don't. Follow Rich's Fishes on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere else you could think of. There's the little one. Alright, guys, that's it. I'll see you next time.